One of the things I'm amazed by in our politics is Trump's ability to say something that would absolutely tank and obliterate any other politician in the country. But he says it, and not only does he get away with it, in many instances, it's not even a scandal. Nobody even talks about it. It's in and out of the public consciousness in like one day. Great example of it here. Trump came out and said the following. Any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approvals. Get ready to rock. So let me translate this into layman's terms for you. What he's saying is, if you invest $1 billion in this country or more, right, there will be no environmental regulations for you. None. There will be no permitting or approval process for you. None. So what that means is, effectively, anarcho-capitalism. Zero regulations. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard and one of the most corrupt things I've ever heard. This is colossally corrupt. Guys, Trump's first term in office, he rolled back 112 environmental regulations. That's what he did. The whole point under a conservative Republican, when they appoint somebody to the EPA, it's to handcuff the EPA and stop the EPA from doing EPA things. Rolled back regulations on chemicals. Boy, that'll end well, right? Water, air. So in other words, just going to massively increase pollution. Going to lead to corporate irresponsibility. I mean, how many examples in U.S. history do we have of some company dumping toxic sludge into a river? Remember back in the day when that river literally caught on fire because it was so polluted? That's what you get with deregulation. That's what you get with no environmental approvals. So, I mean, again, what he's admitting here is, fuck all the regulations. Look, he's anti-regulation. Why? Because he comes from the billionaire side of the equation, the robber baron side of the equation. So in his mind, his whole life, build it, the government, building codes. This is just red tape, bureaucracy. It gets in my way of building things. Yeah, but we know that if you leave the robber barons on their own to make their own decisions, they're going to cut corners for profit. Duh. It's happened forever. So you're going to have instances where the building codes aren't up to snuff. A strong hurricane comes through and the building falls down. The electric wire is too close to the water line, and that leads to all sorts of problems. There's more of a fire risk. There's the regulations exist for a reason. The environmental regulations exist for a reason. If you get rid of all the environmental regulations, what do you want to have? A situation like China was a decade ago where you look outside and you couldn't see a building that was 150 yards away because the air is so polluted. There's so much particulate matter in the air that when you breathe it in, you die 10 years younger because you're basically inhaling little particulates that are going to give you cancer down the road. Is that what we want in this country? Is that what we want? And the other day we did a segment, we're in the new Gilded Age. Well, this is part of the new Gilded Age, right? No rules, no regulations. Do what you want if you're a robber baron. They're bringing back child labor in so many of the Republican states. Child labor. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. At the same time, the Democratic states are doing free school breakfast and lunch for kids. The Republican states are rolling back child labor laws. Rolling back mandatory breaks for extreme heat if you work outside. Preventing cities from increasing their minimum wages in red states. This is what they're doing. And now, look, he's reaching his final form, right? Reaching his final form. So if you have a company here and it's a big company, $1 billion or more, you won't have any environmental regulations. By the way, RFK, where you at, dog? Where you at? RFK, for most of his adult life, one of his big things was environmental regulations. Protect the public. Make sure terrible toxic chemicals are out of the water and people aren't getting sick. This was like your whole thing, bro. Now, the guy you snuggled up to is saying, how about all environmental approvals it's a given. You're good. You're good. All approvals, all permits, no regulations in any way, shape, or form. You got anything to say about that? You got anything to say about that? Or now, do you just, I just trust big business and robber barons because I snuggled up to Trump. Is that how it works, buddy? Is that how it works? See, this is the thing, man. This is corrupt. This is anarcho-capitalist, basically. And this reflects what his first term was. Guys, how many times have I told you this? He's not a fucking populist. He's not. He's a revolutionary conservative. And I think a lot of people look at the fact that he feels revolutionary and they go, oh, maybe we'll get some good things out of this. No. He's a revolutionary to conservative ends. So what that means is exactly what you think it means. It's George W. Bush on steroids. It's massively cut taxes for the wealthy and corporations. 83% of his tax cuts went to the top 1% the last time he was in office. The tax cuts for working people, temporary. The tax cuts for the rich, permanent. He lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs as he pretended to be the anti-outsourcing guy. He presided over a net loss of 2.9 million jobs his time in office. 2.3 million people lost health insurance his first 3 years in office. I think it was about 3 million by the end of it. Appointed more billionaires and Wall Street CEOs than any other administration in history. Filled the NLRB with union busters. His labor department stiffed 8 million workers of overtime pay. This is who he is. This is who he is. And so he's going to loot the treasury, bro. All the subsidies, all the corporate welfare, all the tax cuts, that's going to go to all of his billionaire buddies. And this is trickle down on steroids. Trickle down. Oh, don't worry. Give the rich people all the money and it'll maybe eventually, kind of, not really, trickle down to you. No environmental regulations. No building regulations. No permitting necessary. Right back in the robber baron era, bro. That's where we are. We are in the Gilded Age. Gilded Age 2.0 is here, and they're bragging about it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.